Things aren't always the way they seem. Sometimes they're a lot better than they seem to be, and other times they're a lot worse. I remember a few years back I had a chance to visit D.C., and I visited the Smithsonian Museum of American Art. And I came across this particularly haunting picture. As you look at it, you see this beautiful 9-year-old girl staring back at you very intensely, the viewer. She stands very close to her mother in the picture, who is seated on a chair. The mother is leaning over to kiss her on the forehead. The little girl must have just finished hearing a beautiful bedtime story, because there's a book lying open on her mother's lap. And the little girl looks like she's finally ready to go to bed. It was another beautiful rendition of a mother and child, a favorite theme of so many artists, or at least at first, so it seemed. Then I made the mistake of reading the description saying what was really going on in the picture right underneath. The picture is painted by William Kendall, and it's entitled The Interlude. And it explained what was going on in the picture. The artist, that was his wife, and his daughter in the picture is painting his own family. And it mentioned that while he was painting this picture, his wife knew what was going on. And the daughter had some sense, but didn't understand it, of course. She knew that her husband was having an affair. And then all of a sudden, as I looked back at the picture, it looked completely different. Instead of a peaceful, tranquil picture, it looked completely different. Now the mother wasn't so much bending over or leaning over to kiss her daughter goodnight on the forehead, but she was trying to find some excuse to look away from her husband who had betrayed her. And the little girl was no longer convinced that it was time to go to bed, but rather she was looking out at her father and at me, in a sense, the viewer, asking someone to do something to make the pain go away. And as I looked at the picture, I had this brief sense that I wanted to find this family and see if I could do something to fix the problem, to heal the brokenness. But the painting was painted in 1907, and that little girl and mother and father were long gone. And I had to walk away from that picture. It bothered me so much. It went from such a beautiful picture to something so tragic. And I came back several times and looked at the picture, and I tried to rediscover my original feelings as I looked at the picture, but they were gone forever. Things weren't as good as they appeared. And if you want to see that picture, you can go on Facebook and take a look at it. But if you're having a good day, I'd advise you not to look at it. It's kind of a downer. But that was a haunting picture I never forgot. On the other hand, praise God, things often are much better than they appear to be. As God said to us today in the first reading, in the reading from the prophet Isaiah, comfort. Give comfort to my people. Every valley shall be filled in, every mountain and hill shall be made low. The picture was looking pretty desperate for the Jews exiled in Babylon in the 6th century before Christ, the Jews that of Isaiah's day to whom he was speaking. They had nearly lost everything, and they had been exiled hundreds of miles from their homeland for close to 50 years. I'd imagine their children were starting to forget their language, their religion, their culture. They seemed on the verge of losing their identity. And then something wonderful happened, making the same picture look completely different. The Persians overthrew the Babylonians who had exiled them and was allowing all the exiles, including the Jews, to return home to their own land if they wanted to. And the prophet Isaiah in that first reading was trying to wake them up from their slumber and fill them with hope and excitement that they could finally go home, telling them every valley shall be filled in, every mountain and hill shall be made low. In the wasteland, in the desert, Make way for the Lord. Make straight in the wasteland a highway for your God. Why? So that he could lead his people straight home to the promised land. And what previously seemed impossible was just about to happen. And that same picture looked completely different. They were going back home. And I like to think that that's what Advent is about for us. It reminds us today that no matter what is going on in our life right now, no matter what is going on in the world out there, no matter what the picture looks like to us, no matter how troubling it might seem to be or how heavy our concerns can be, something wonderful will happen for you and me this December 25th. I don't know what picture you're looking at. We all have a picture that we're looking at. It's entitled My Life. It should really be entitled My Perception of Life. But thanks to Advent, in the blink of an eye, that same perception can be transformed. The purpose of Advent is to help us get out of God's way so he can lead us back home. He's coming back for us, and he's not just doing that at the end of time, but this Christmas as joy and peace in a manner we've never experienced before. We think that we know what Christmas is about. We've been through it so many times, but ours is only a partial picture. That's why every year we take some time to try to see that picture the way God intended it to be seen. There's more for you and me to discover. It's a beautiful picture. We just need to look at our picture, the picture of our life, through the prism of faith and hope. And Advent helps us do that by helping us make straight the way of the Lord. As we prepare for Christmas, the purpose of this season of Advent, perhaps there's something you and I need to remove from our lives, to change in our lives. Perhaps there's something we need to bring into our lives that's missing. I would suggest this year, perhaps it's a renewed sense of prayer, a renewed spirit of prayer. You know, I worry sometimes in our society, things seem to be so busy. There's so much going on. There's so much intensity that the quality of our prayer is harmed by the noise and the pace of our culture. And we're challenged to change that. See, prayer is a way to keep our vision clear so that we can see life the way it was meant to be seen, with faith and hope, which leads to patience and perseverance. I think it's providential that Bishop Ricken has asked us to enter into this 2-year journey, the first of a part of a 6-year journey entitled Teach My People to Pray. Because unless we are praying, things aren't going to look right. We're not going to be centered. And we're not going to have the energy and the strength to bring the good news to others. And throughout our diocese, at every parish, we can be grateful that once a month there will be this hour of adoration at every parish throughout our diocese. I encourage you as one step towards renewing our prayer, come to that gathering. If at all possible, come and join us for that hour of prayer. We'll have it here on Wednesdays over at St. John's in the morning from noon to 1. So let's be open to that. Just watch the bulletin for it. You know, there was a wonderful book I read years ago. It's entitled Conversations with Christ, and it really was effective in helping me deepen my sense of prayer. I'd encourage you to find that book. Just look it up online. It won't be hard to find. Conversations with Christ. It's a wonderful, simple, straightforward description of prayer. Also, Bishop will be offering throughout the diocese these next 2 years workshops going over several methods of prayer that are available for us as Catholic Christians. Let's be open to that. If the picture doesn't look right, it might not be the picture that's bad, just the way we see life. We're not seeing it through the eyes of the Christ child. I think through prayer, in this and many other ways, we make straight the way of the Lord. With a few changes in this area and a little bit of effort from us, the same picture, the same life will be filled with strength and perseverance. And that's my prayer for all of us this Advent season. and that this Christmas season we will see something new and wonderful, as if seeing it for the very first time.